Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Ian Carlos Crawford.
My name is Zach Patton Garcia.
I'm Dana Piccoli.
And I'm Ian Martin.
Hi, everyone. We finally finished Angel Season 1. We're here.
You did great timing on this season. It went smoothly. You had a start and a finish date. Got it through 1 year. Not like Buffy Season 6. You did a great job this season.
My goal with Angel is to try to like a season a year, not because 6 and 7 it was pretty rough. It was like almost 2 full years.
Well, I mean, remember when they made shows that were 22 episodes long?
Yeah,
no.
That's a lot of Angel.
The joke Adam Sass would always say is like, Ian, I had 3 different apartment leases in the time that you finished season 6 of Buffy. But yeah, so Zach and Dana, it was your first time fully going through it. Like, you both kind of knew, right? Like, what you guys both still knew some stuff going into it, right?
Very little, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
I was so checked out on the Angel storyline, and I think I'm going to blame the fact that I really got into Buffy more when it came to season 3, and that was like Angel's exit.
Yeah.
So I never really invested a lot in Angel as a character. So, or really for that matter, Cordelia. Although I really do love Cordelia now. But initially I had never really been interested in Angel and kind of lost track of Cordelia. So this was very new to me in a lot of ways. And it showed all those characters in a lot of different lights that we didn't really get to see on Buffy.
Yeah, I feel like I'm with Dana on most of that. I just have never been into Angel as a character. I was never obsessed with the Angel Buffy romance. He didn't really do it for me. So I did this for you, Ian. I
did it for you, Ian.
Season 1, I know there's like a handful of episodes I didn't watch. I did skip those and I just never went back to them. But I feel like, because I made sure I went through the season right before this to make sure I knew kind of where we were. And it's so dull. It really is. I had a really hard time getting through this one. And the only reason I'm going to continue is because everybody, on every episode I've been on to cover this, everybody says it gets better. It really does get better. So lots of hope.
Yes, you and Dana are told that. I think every recording you and Dana are both have been told it does get better. But Ian, right, it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in fairness, Dana, you said you kind of forgot about Cordy in season 3. I feel like Buffy season 3 just kind of forgets about Cordy.
Yeah.
It's Lonnie from Chipperish calls Joyce a conflict vending machine, and I think that Cordy kind of begins life on the show that way, definitely in season 1. And then when they kind of bring her into the Scooby orbit, she gets to be, by way of Xander, a little bit more fully developed. But I always feel like after the breakup and the wish, Cordy is not a big part of the show anymore. She just kind of floats around. So making her a protagonist in Angel really gives her a chance to be the Cordy, I think. I think, again, there's so much retroactive perspective on the characters. When you go back and rewatch, once you're done with Angel, when you go back and rewatch the early seasons of Buffy, you bring all of the, I think you bring all the likes and dislikes from the show entire to that character. So I actually think Angel will make the earlier seasons of Buffy better by way of the love that you develop for the characters. But yeah, I absolutely think it is, boy, is it an experimental show. Every season of the show has a different identity.
Genre.
Yeah. And I think arguably the first season has more than one, many more than one, as they kind of throw stuff against the wall to see what works, which, has its pluses and minuses.
It's also a season that was really set up for success. This is a show that was set up for success. They gave them budget. They gave them, they had a bunch of different writers on this. They had,
Yeah.
I don't know. It felt like Buffy was the accidental hit, but this was the one that they were banking on being really successful as well. And I was very happy to see Cordelia in all 22 of 22 episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot to love about Cordelia, and I think that I didn't appreciate her enough. She just becomes so much more dimensional in Angel. But
Yeah.
I wanted to say something that really made a lot of sense when I heard it. I was doing research to talk about this recap, and I think it was Den of Geek, but I may be wrong here. But the person that was doing the video said Buffy is a show about growing up, and Angel is a show about being an adult and the weight that carries.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I thought that made a lot of sense because
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Because the shows to me feel disconnected because they are. Angel is like 400 years old. He actually gets to be a grown up.
And they definitely do age up Cordelia for this, but I think it does work because I think she still feels Cordelia, but you forget that she's 18 at the beginning of the season, and it's oh Jesus,
soul, Ian.
So wild.
Yeah.
I will say I think I do agree with you about season 3 with Cordelia, but I feel like it's almost what they do with Anya in season 7. They give her some fun stuff up front, and then they kind of, because I feel like Homecoming and The Wish are kind of her arc in season 3, and then she's just there to deliver a funny line. So I always do get, oh, that makes sense that if they had to pull another character to go with Angel, it would be her, right?
Yeah, I heard originally that Nicholas Brendan was the one who wanted or was volunteering to go over to Angel. There was something about him being one taking Charisma Carpenter's place for Angel, and they didn't do that.
Huh. That would have been awful.
I would never have watched this show. I would not be here covering this. I absolutely would not have done it.
You know why? Because the reason it works is there's that moonlighting, will they or won't they kind of tension.
Yeah.
But not 100% because that there's always that investment that with Angel and Buffy. But I think that the platonic intimacy between Cordelia and Angel works. It would not have existed with Xander.
They could have gone a very different way with it, but I think you're right.
I mean, it could have been. Wait, let's defend this for a second. This could have been Xander's big coming out journey, moving to L.A., joining the gay party scene in L.A. It'd have been a whole journey.
We don't need him. We didn't need him on our team.
he could have redeemed himself in the last couple seasons. But it's really interesting though, as you guys are talking about Cordelia and her space in season 3, because I'd never really thought about it, but it also makes you wonder how wasted she would have been in 4, season 5, season 6, season 7. So I am really glad they moved her over,
And because also I don't know that it really wouldn't have made sense for her to go to the same college as Buffy and Willow. They even did I forget, Ian, I feel like you might remember, I forget what's the episode where you find out she did really well in her SATs.
That's the What I Test Well episode, and it's one of the popular ones, and I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Is it the Zeppo?
No, I don't think so. I don't remember which one it is, but she says, "What can't I have layers?"
Yeah.
And I love that episode. The writing for her. The other issue I think for Cordy and Buffy is the writing is a little inconsistent.
Yes,
because they can't decide if she's a ditz purely or if she's the super smart alpha. And I mean, I think that I always like the episodes where she's the super smart alpha.
Yeah.
I can't have layers, Cordy. And then they just go with that Cordy and Angel.
I do think you're right. It is a little I still love her, but it is a little inconsistent. Also, even with because season 3, she's mostly a Scooby, but then there are some episodes where randomly she pops up to say really mean shit and then just leave.
But she's a reluctant Scooby. That's the thing, Whereas Willow and Xander are all in. She is absolutely reluctant about being a Scooby.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, if you remove Xander was. I mean, there's a symbolic structural relationship between Xander, Willow, Giles, and Buffy that really cemented the chemistry. And if you remove Xander from that, I don't know where they go with all of that. And Cordy originally was supposed to be a road not traveled for Buffy. She has a line in Helpless where she says, before I was the Slayer, I was, well, I don't want to use names. We'll just call her Spordelia.
Yeah.
But she looked like a classic philosopher compared to me. Cordy is supposed to be like what Buffy's life could have been. And then once she gives that up, that arc is done. Where she's kind of says, okay, that's not going to be me. I'm the Slayer. And then they needed to take Cordy to a new realm. And they did with, once they sparked the Xander Cordy arc.
Yeah. And I mean, I do think when I interviewed Evan Ross Katz, who literally wrote a book on Buffy, he actually said he felt like a little bit of Cordelia was a rewrite, but I really do feel like it feels organic. Like all of her stuff. The only thing I will say I don't love is in the finale when she has to explicitly say out loud that she's changed. And it's like, no, but this has been coming. We don't need to say it out loud because we've watched it happen over the season. And I think it began in 3.
Tell, not show.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And like, but I do, Hannah in our Discord server said that she felt it is the most organic relationship because like Cordelia and Angel start with like a nothing relationship, right? It's just, he's like kind of a guy she thinks is hot, but like she doesn't give a shit. So it starts as like a nothing relationship and we get to see it evolve. And like, we don't often get that in TV shows, like over the course of 2 different shows. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, there's a level of awkwardness with them in the beginning that starts to melt away. And then they become actually like really dear to each other.
Yes. Yes. And I think it's important what you mentioned, Dana, that they do mostly keep it platonic for the first season, but they are getting closer. And you see like even the episode where her apartment's haunted and, that's pretty early on. And she has to go over there and like use the shower. And he's walking around in this ridiculous robe. And Doyle comes in and thinks they've like fucked, but they're both like, no, what are you kidding? What are you talking about? We're just friends. Like they're very chill about it. Like to them, it was nothing.
Does Angel get cold? Does he really need a robe?
It's aesthetic purposes.
Yeah. He was like, I look kind of like a fuckboy in this. I better wear it. And I do think it worked giving her the visions. What do you all think about that?
I'm fine with it. Everyone's got their special thing except Xander. So I'm fine with it. The way it happened, like the kind of this is being thrust upon you kind of thing seems like the sort of thing that would happen with Cordelia.
Yeah, that's true. Zach, what do you think about it? You knew that though, right? That she has visions.
Did I know she has visions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to think though. I don't, because I've never thought about if it works or not. It's just always kind of been there in my memory for Cordelia and Angel. I guess it works, right? Like, I mean, it does the purpose. They've got to know when to go fight the crimes and what the crimes are and what demons are running around. So I guess, I've never really thought about it. I'm okay with it. It's fun.
It's like having a cell phone before they had cell phones.
True. Ian, what do you think about that? Like, do you think, I'm curious what your like Buffy scholarly opinion is. I feel like we're both like the same level of like intense Buffy fans, but you were just a lot smarter about it.
Well, that's just wasting a lot more time reading about all of the different fan theories. But it's hard. I mean, like Zach, it's hard for me to.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, what do I think about Buffy being the Slayer?
Yeah, that's kind of what I think of it.
It's hard for me to picture it otherwise. I mean, I guess the question then is like, what do we think about the transition from Doyle to Cordelia?
Yeah.
Or sort of Cordelia being the character inheriting the visions. I think it gives her a lot more to do. I really enjoyed Doyle. I mean, you never can tell when life outside the show is going to take a different direction, and it's unfortunate that was the case. But I think that the visions definitely give her a journey that they may have been struggling with otherwise, or rather it made the journey more clear, which was, hers is a kind of the path of self-importance, wanting to be famous, wanting to be rich, and so forth, and the visions giving her an access to the suffering and experiences of other people outside of herself, I think is a wonderful way of growing her. But I love, too, that they sort of subvert our expectations by not letting that change Cordy completely. She's still Cordelia. I mean, this is yet to come, but she still wants what she wants and is who she is, and it just creates this more complex layer of adulthood for her that I think is really beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, so, and you know, Zach and I do 2 different podcasts together, so he's heard me give this spiel 1,000 times, but like, poor Zach.
I could write your life story by now. I'm pretty sure.
I only have like 10 stories to tell, and I tell them all the time.
Fantastic. Tell it again, Ian. Tell it again.
You know, like Cordelia, that's the thing that I've always loved, is that she's allowed to grow, but she can still be like sassy. She can still be fashionable. And it's very much like, you know, on My Bloody Judy, we talk a lot about Scream and like Gale Weathers. And it's like Gale Weathers, Cordelia Chase, and, you know, one of our co-hosts, Summer Bishel's Margot, that she played on The Magicians. It's like, those are characters that I love, where we can have them grow, but to put it in like weird, like I feel like especially in the early 2000s, like some of the horror movies and stuff, it would be like at the end, the goth girl now has to dress in like pastels to show she's changed. And that always fucking pissed me off, because like, I'm still going to wear my black skinny jeans no matter what. Like, even if I'm feeling nice or I'm feeling shitty, like that's how I dress. So I always like hate when it has to be a hard transition. I like an organic, and hers feels organic, and she's allowed to still be like cutting and severe while being a hero and being a do-gooder. And we just don't get that often enough. It is a lot more common now, but especially back then it wasn't, right?
You can peel the skinny jeans off of Ian's cold dead thighs.
Ian, if you're not in pastels, did you really change?
I
don't know. I don't think so. But Passion of the Nerd, Ian. I really liked what you said about that being, because I guess in Buffy, right? Like, she still did come from a sort of background where she didn't really have to care about other people, right? And so this being the first season of Angel, like, we saw a little bit of that growth in Buffy and her starting to come outside of herself, and we see that she did care about other people, and like, in fact, she did look out for others. But this was, I guess, a more severe way of showing that, but still, you know.
Well, I mean, Angel's bigger stakes.
Yeah,
you know.
So I think in that way, I do like it.
The you know, Buffy has I'm having to learn the plural of apocalypses. Buffy has a number of different apocalypses, but it always just feels like the end of Sunnydale, not the end of the world. When Angel deals with apocalypses, it feels properly world ending. And I think that, you know, along with the raised stakes and adolescence versus adulthood, the symbols get bigger.
I would like to just hear you talk about season 1. I think we could all just sit here and just listen to you talk about season 1, because I'm gleaning a lot from you.
One of my favorite bits of her being cutting and yet vulnerable is in the Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered. Xander gives her the necklace, and she breaks up with him. And the scene later on where he asks for the necklace back, and she has to dodge in the locker because she's actually wearing it. Because, you know, and we know Xander's it's not the standard of jewelry that she's used to. Xander's from a poorer family.
Right.
So she's not wearing it because it's pricey, expensive jewelry. She's wearing it because she still cares about him.
Right.
And just talking about show, don't tell, that's a wonderful little moment of her being that complex character of the person she thinks she has to be versus the person that she is.
Yeah, you know, and like, it's funny, when we interviewed Charisma Carpenter, I had asked her specifically what she thought, like, drew everyone to Cordelia. And it was funny because she was like, I guess everyone likes a bitch. And I was like, no. Like that, like, it's there from the beginning that Cordelia has more layers than like they either intended or that like, but it's always there. And I think part of it probably could have been like Charisma's acting, you know, like,
she's a great actor.
Yeah. Like she's so good at like, I don't hate her even when she's being mean. Right. Like,
well, it's the same thing with Spike. Like, James is such a good freaking actor that you can't help but like love this evil dude.
Yeah, Dana, I don't think I've said this on one of your episodes yet, but I've said this on the last 5. But yeah, I feel like of all the Buffy actors, James Marsters and Charisma Carpenter kind of have chemistry with everyone they have a scene with.
Yeah, they're great like that
because they're both such good fucking actors, right?
Well, they're what's different about them is, or special about them as actors, is they're very like reciprocal actors. You can tell that they are in the moment. And they are feeding back the same energy that they're getting.
Huh. I'd never heard that term before, Dana.
Well, reciprocal. I mean, I got to put my theater degree to some use.
True. So, well, side note real quick. Dana, I did the Slayerfest podcast wrapped for like Slayerfest. The Chosen episode that you and Zach are both on for, and Kirsten and Adam, had 524% more than every other Slayerfest episode. Like, I guess more streams and downloads.
We needed it. We needed it at that time.
It was like, I looked at that number and was like, holy fucking shit. Like, that just feels like, what does that even mean? Like 524% improvement? Like, that feels like
524 people listening. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, no, I guess we should talk about Doyle too, because this is the first time I cared about Doyle. I will say, like, before having to talk about the podcast episode, having to talk about the show on a podcast, I kind of felt like, yeah, Doyle's whatever. But like this time I was like, oh no, he does have pretty good chemistry with Cordelia. He is like, I mean, he's a little problematic when he's talking about women, but like, so for a lot of the men on those shows,
there's been a lot worse on these shows. Yes, let's be real about that.
He was a charming actor, and it's such a tragedy, about his life being cut short, because he really did. He had something that drew you to him. Same with when he was in Roseanne. He was not a particularly likable character, but there's something about him as an actor, as a person, that draws you in. So I could see how Doyle has this kind of built-in likability.
He feels very effortless.
Yeah.
Just sort of effortlessly believable.
That's accurate. Yeah.
I think the nice thing about him versus, you would talk about problematic sleazebags, I guess, for lack of a better term, when you're, is that the difference between sort of, and I don't mean that as harshly as it sounds, but I just am trying to. I couldn't think of a better term. But talking about the difference between Doyle and Xander,
right.
The writing is aware that Doyle is the way that he is, and the issue with Xander has always been that it co-signs a lot of his bullshit. His I don't think this outfit makes you look like a hooker. There's never any repercussions for the way he talks about Cordelia, or there's even a slut shaming of Buffy in one of the episodes, and so forth. And I think those things sort of add up. Every character on the show makes mistakes, but Xander's, until season 6, there aren't a lot of repercussions for it. But the show knows what Doyle is and doesn't necessarily endorse it. It just represents it. My favorite line of Doyle's is Angel says, "Why do you live like this?" And Doyle says, "Well, it's the kind of life that keeps your expectations from getting too high." Which I think thematically is a wonderful... he's talking about maintaining a sense of hopelessness in his own life so that he's never disappointed. And I identify with that. I think that's a really powerful explanation of a particular kind of behavior. And I think a lot of his stuff sort of filters backwards from there. So yes, I mean, problematic, but I think it's a little different than Xander.
Yeah, no, again, back to what Zach fucking just said. Like, God, I can listen to you talk about them. Like, you just talk. Like,
like, tell me what I think about the season.
Yeah. And I will just co-sign. Like, because that's a really fucking good point. That like that is the difference, because Angel is never like, oh, you're right. Like, Angel will give him a like rolly eye look, or like we get like Cordelia and Angel, when he does make his like whatever comments, they will be like, ugh. So the show does like acknowledge, that like he's charming, but sometimes he makes like stupid comments, and like you're right, that does make it a little bit more like, all right, at least we're acknowledged. Because like I mean, I've said this so many times, but I go back to season 6 with Xander leaving Anya at the altar, and I feel like he never even back then when I was very much like, oh, I love all the characters and I don't hate anyone. I hated him when he left Anya at the altar. And then like for the rest of the season when he's like mad
We
that she
just
fucks
can't
Spike.
even. Yeah, I can't even
Like,
get into it.
yeah.
It's seething.
And like the show never is like Buffy and Willow say they feel bad for everyone.
Yeah, I don't want to hear. Well, both of you. No,
Right.
no.
Just him. Like, who left who at the altar? Because that's the person
Exactly.
like
Well,
that did
your
the
dress
wrong.
was kind of ugly. Like you were maybe. I don't know. So stupid. We can't even get into that.
But yeah, Ian, that's like a really good point that's what makes him more likable. And because it's funny, the reactions of Doyle have been a little like mixed online. Like some people like love him, they adore him, and they're like, which I do kind of agree with that. Like, oh, there was like really good potential there with that character. And then some people really hate him for those comments, but I do think you're kind of right. That is what makes
I think there was fantastic potential with that character, and I totally understand why like they had to remove him from the show.
Right,
I get it. But I also find myself questioning like, did I have a genuine affection for the character, or do I already know the life story of the actual actor in my head and have that in my head while I'm watching this? And I don't think that's something I can decipher just yet. Probably never. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we're going through a I was thinking about this. Lonnie and I are doing a rewatch of the X-Files, and I've been astonished at the number of how many of my favorite episodes were written by Vince Gilligan. But we were watching one of them last night. I can't remember the name of the episode. I think it's called Drive. It's the one that Vince Gilligan wrote with what's his name from Breaking Bad? Bryan Cranston. So Bryan Cranston is the victim of the story. He has a problem with his head where if Mulder doesn't drive the car fast enough, his head's going to explode.
Sounds very X-Files.
Speed this is the plot of Speed.
They even acknowledge Speed in the story, but except it's Bryan Cranston's head. But the thing of it is that Bryan Cranston is written as an unlikable character in the story. He's anti-Semitic. And I think that that's a lost art. I think that writing problematic, challenging characters that that's people that suck, but we still have empathy for is interesting, because like we're going through a big swing in media right now, a big and necessary challenging conversation about the kinds of stories that we write and the kinds of things those stories endorse. And I'm glad that we're doing that. But I think that characters like Doyle and characters like Cranston from the story it would be a shame to lose that kind of character. What we want to do is out the Xanders and keep the Doyles, while sort of finding where that line is. And boy, is it a difficult, challenging line, but just something I was thinking about recently. I apologize.
No, that's I love that very specific X-Files reference. But so I also have meant to do an X-Files rewatch, but I always feel like it probably wouldn't hold up as well because I loved it as a kid. So I guess we'll talk
Wesley, because if anything, Ian, you have made me like Wesley.
Yes, I was going to ask where you landed now.
I have an affection for Wesley.
Zach?
No, not yet. We'll wait till season 2. I'll give it till season 2.
Because I do think, and Ian, I'll be curious what you say, but I do think they have trouble with Wesley at first when they bring him on. He's a little too like goofy slapstick, and they like level him out somewhere towards like the end. I think it's in like The Ring is where the first time he's like picks it up and we see that he can be tough.
Well, there are hints of competent Wesley throughout. I do like the way that they make it clear that if you look for the signs, they're always there that Wesley is actually really good at what he does and knows what he's doing. The problem with Wesley is Wesley.
Yeah.
But I think like Cordelia, there are Wesley was a drastically different character on Buffy, obviously. Yeah. And I think that there was some experimentation that went with them trying to figure out who he was.
Yeah.
Well, do you think the fact that he had to hold up this Watcher thing, right? That he was basically like putting on a costume while he was on Buffy, and on Angel he's allowed to kind of be more of himself and be, use his actual skills to help.
Yeah, that it's hinted at why he. I mean, I think it's. I've got you under my skin. The kid that's possessed makes fun of Wesley with Wesley's own voice about the abuse he received from his father, and that's why he wanted to be a watcher, and why he wanted to prove himself to his dad, and all of that. Boy, is there some interesting things yet to come. But I love that. I think you're right. I think that the breaking down of the thing he pursued to prove himself to his dad is what was necessary to sort of for him to find himself in a way that's really fun on the show.
Wait, that was one of the moments that sticks out in recording this season is, Zach, when we recorded I've Got You Under My Skin, and I remember saying, "Oh, this pays off in season 5," and you were like, "What?"
Season 5? Because I don't want to hear about anything. It's terrible. I think Wesley was like so good in both of the Faith episodes. I was amazed with what they did with him, right? But then like after that, it just feels like, and I don't know if it's the season, I don't know if it's him. It just feels like he's such a drag still. I completely forgot about those 2 episodes as I was going through the rest of the season.
I have ambivalent feelings about developing all the characters through pain and suffering, but I guess that's kind of that's kind of what character development is.
It's trauma.
It's sort of but in this case, it's literal pain. Wes gets stabbed in the neck and tortured by Faith. And Cordy gets mind-crippling, agonizing visions. It still makes me feel, it's still, can we have a...
No, we're sadistic. This is why we watch these shows.
Yeah.
That's funny because, I mean, and I don't want to give Joss any flowers at all, but my mom, when we watched Buffy, I remember my mom saying, these shows love to kill all their characters. It feels like reading my mom mostly reads romance novels, but she used to read she compared it to like Hemingway, how like all the characters always die in the end. And she would always think that Buffy was like in Farewell to Arms, how both members of the couple just die. And she would always be worried that Buffy was going to die in Chosen. These shows do love torturing their characters. But Dana, what'd you feel about his development this season?
I mean, I know that he's going to get even more kind of like serious Wesley as things progress through the seasons, but I can see it. So like, I try to look at these sorts of things from an actor's perspective because it's all I got, kids. It's all I got.
I love when you flex that actor brain.
But yeah, so I see the work going into, well, at least Alexis is doing the work, right?
Yeah. So,
I mean, for me, who was absolutely just like 100% not on Team Wesley, for me to be able to say, okay, I don't hate the guy. I'm starting to understand. I think that there was some growth there for sure.
I mean, I will say Wesley, in terms of like Buffyverse characters, I actually he's someone I do sometimes forget about. I do think he has a very good arc, but it does feel a little character rewritey to me. But I still like him. He's still a character I love. I still, cry in the finale. Yeah, I think you're all right. It's like Alexis's acting. Like these shows always benefited from having like really great actors, right? Like, and he is very good. I mean, we can see Ian, I think you're right. Like he really gets to flex his acting chops throughout this show.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's funny that he started as sort of pratfall Tweety, but not in a sexy way like Giles Wesley from the Buffy, and then sort of where things go. I think I agree with the character rewrite reading, but just for about the first half of this season. I think that after, basically the I've Got You Under My Skin or the episode with Faith, where he sort of becomes very sobered.
Yeah.
I think he's consistent throughout, and arguably he has one of the hairiest journeys of any of the characters. And I think it's motivated, but we'll talk about it as we go.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what Zach and Dana feel like moving forward with these characters. Especially, I'm going to check in about Wesley a lot because, like, I do love him. I do love him. So I guess, Ian, you were supposed to be on. I wanted you on for Sanctuary because I was so curious, and now I need to ask you because you said you don't like that episode, right?
I hate that episode.
You probably disagreed with me and Zach then, but give me. I want to know what you thought of Buffy.
Oh goodness!
So that's a really interesting one. That one's written by Tim Minear and Joss Whedon, which is bizarre to me because 5x5 is spectacular. It's a wonderful episode. I weep at the end of that episode. It is so well done. And then Sanctuary, every scene that Buffy's in, I feel like that's not my Buffy. Like I'm such. It's weird to feel protective of that character, but the show is so precious to me.
Yeah,
and she feels so out of character in every, just spiteful and mean and whatever. And then as soon as they go back to Sunnydale in the follow up, where Angel goes and has a fist fight with Riley that is delightful and a ton of fun, and then she goes out in the hallway, then suddenly she's the Buffy that we all know, and they talk like people and they work through their problems and they forgive each other. But she's just there for conflict in Sanctuary, and it just doesn't. And it feels like a miswriting of the character. But that episode drives me crazy. If for no other reason that 5x5 is the brightest shining star in all of Angel season 1.
I would agree with that. I don't think that. So for me, it still feels like Buffy, right? I think where the problem for me comes in is that there wasn't enough time. They brought her in super quick, and she's there to give all the angry emotions, and that's about it, right? Like they don't really give her a whole lot to do other than that. She shows up, they have the rooftop fight, and then they're at the police station. That should have been another episode or 2 episodes.
Yeah, you could fix it that way. I mean, there are a lot of ways to fix it. Remove the Wetworks team.
Yeah,
you know,
because I think all of her anger and all of her conflict was completely justified in context.
Yes.
It was in that 3-minute scene in the hallway between Angel and Buffy. That's why it feels so weird in Sanctuary to me.
See, and it's funny because I think that was one of the best discussions we've had this season, only because Zach and I both came down hard with, no, Buffy has every right to be this angry. She wouldn't actually kill Faith. She's just fucking pissed. Faith beat up her mom and stole her body like yesterday.
Yeah. Like fucking rude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Also, her entry, Dawn is famous for this. Entering at exactly the wrong moment to hear exactly the wrong thing to just drive conflict and to have her leave.
My favorite trope.
I hate it. I hate it.
And then she's burning trash cans upstairs.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a great opportunity for us to move into Faith. And this is what I want to say about Faith. Faith just wants to not be judged.
Yeah.
And that's what she finds in Angel.
Mm-hmm.
I think that she's so used to being judged by Buffy, judged by Xander, judged by everybody, like whatever. Like she finally just gets to like breathe.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you like her on Angel, Dana?
Oh, I like Faith.
Oh, everybody should like Faith.
Everybody
on this discussion. Oh, yeah. Buffy and Faith were robbed of a very long discussion in this season. They were owed a very lengthy 30-minute discussion between the two of them.
Man, even like, Zach, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. Like, that shit makes me emotional because it's like, I do love both of them, but like, I know that I would be just as hot as Buffy is in that scene. Like, and like Sarah Michelle Gellar is just, I mean, an episode where we talk about how good she is acting, of course. But like the way she conveys emotions, like when Angel hits her, I'm like, you motherfucker. Like,
stake him.
Yeah, like I've never been more mad at Angel than when he hits her. And the like reaction she gives with her face, like hurts my feelings. Like, I'm like, how dare you hit her? Like, I get so angry because like Buffy's my hero. She's my favorite character. And like, Sarah Michelle Gellar's acting in that scene, I think that's what I like about it is like, and Zach and I, we talked about it because we had Kim Southwick and Ryan Houlihan, and they felt more like you did, Ian. And it was a really, like, right, Zach? I think it was a really great discussion.
It was fantastic because nobody was really budging on their points of view, but we were all kind of like, I don't know,
like seeing each other.
Armchair psychologists,
Yeah.
The other thing that's bizarre is that it forgets some of what Buffy got to witness in the Freaky Friday, at the end of the Freaky Friday episode. Faith is punching her own face.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's Buffy, but
Right,
she's punching her own face out of self-hatred and rage. And then they swap, and Buffy has a moment of comprehension of what Faith deals with, that level of self-hatred and self-destruction that leads to suicide by cop attempt at the end of 5x5. And none of that is present in her scenes in Sanctuary.
Yeah.
None of that awareness of what Faith deals with, or that self-hatred or that self-destruction that was reflected in them. There's a whole mirror theme of them seeing each other, like mirrors are polar opposites, but they are mirrors of each other in the Freaky Friday episode, and it's beautifully done. And it's gone in Sanctuary.
Yeah. It's just time. It really is just time, because this whole thing, both of these episodes are what, a day, 2 days most?
Yeah.
I agree.
It doesn't work. And, I think I do feel like we were robbed of the Buffy-Faith relationship, because I think Buffy would have been closer to Faith than any of the other Scoobies in the last 20 years. Like, had we caught up with them now, I feel like they would have been fighting vampires in the Paris catacombs, and fucking guys and each other, and it had just been a wild 20 years, and they would have been the best of friends. But we got a 3-minute, helicopter rooftop, screaming match between them, and that was about it there.
You're giving me the vapors thinking about Buffy and Faith fighting in the catacombs.
Buffy and Faith fucking down the Paris catacombs.
The thing I love about Ian, you asked about the Angel Faith relationship. The thing I really love about that relationship is it's really the first. There's a whole alcoholic metaphor going on with Angel. Angel is recovering.
What episode did you talk about that in, Ian? I forget.
I don't remember. I think it was The Prodigal.
I was in it. I remember that.
Or Somnambulist, one of those two.
It was Somnambulist, because that was the word. Yes, that was it.
That word that Zach and I can't say. Because I do think that's a really fucking good, I think about that metaphor a lot, Ian, since you said that on the podcast. I've been thinking about it a lot.
Well, and Angel's had a couple of sponsors. I mean, he and Darla were alcoholics together, and then Buffy was really his first, or Whistler was his first sponsor. And then Buffy advocated for him, and he tried to quit and go off the wagon, and she showed up for him and wouldn't let him. And then Cordelia kind of takes over that role in Somnambulist when she says, it wasn't him, Angel, or it wasn't you, Angel, they were just dreams.
Yeah.
When he's sort of reflecting but I still want a drink. I still have the desire for a drink. Does that mean that I'm not healed, that I'm not healthy? But the thing about Angel and Faith is that that's Angel sponsoring someone else, which is a path for many people not many people, but that is a path in AA of taking that and advocating for someone else, and sponsoring someone else and helping them through the journey that you're going through. And I think that fits beautifully with the Faith Angel stuff. I really love it.
Yeah. If there's two things that and I think that even shows in the finale, Ian, to lend to your Cordelia as a sponsor, because at the very end, when she's making sure the boys are eating, and she hands him a glass of I almost said milk, a glass of blood, and he gives her a look, and she's like, "What? Don't be embarrassed. We're family." And she just hands it to him, and that kind of that almost that plays into that too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. She's definitely. There's always I think my mind naturally goes to a question of intention. Was that intended? Who cares? It's there, and I think it reads pretty clearly. Yeah,
and I think also the thing I like about Angel and Faith, which for a genre show, they love to squeeze in a romance, right? And I don't mind a romance, but I don't need it all the time. And I love that with Faith and Angel, there literally is none. They don't try to, Faith is the way she is, where she's flirty because she's flirty with everyone, but she's not trying to fuck him. Right? There's never.
And that's how she's learned to survive in this world as a woman.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We're all, even I, a queer person, was armed with that at a young
Right.
age.
But Dana, do you like their relationship, Angel and Faith's?
Yeah, I kind of see Angel as like Olivia Pope in some ways. Like he's a fixer. Like people come to Angel to get fixed.
Or to like fix their abduction issues or their son's possession issues.
Right, but like
Yeah.
People come in general, like he's a detective, right? He's a private eye, but like people that we care about, these characters that we care about come to Angel, and like we're talking about Wesley, we're talking about Faith, we're talking about Cordelia, like all of them have these things in their lives that are these big gaping holes in their psyches or their emotional well-being, and they come to Angel and they start to heal.
Yeah, it's true. And like, I think season 1 didn't know how to quite handle that metaphor, but I think it gets better as the show goes along, because we get that with Angel, but we don't need like the focus on a random main character that like we don't care about that's coming to him. And that's why I think Faith works so well, because you're right. She's not doing it. She's not coming to have him help her, but that's what the show is doing. She's coming to get help from him. And like, it works very well when it's a character like, she's just such a good character, right? Because you don't like what she did to Buffy, because Buffy's the main character and we love Buffy, but like you still feel for Faith as well.
But when in a show like this, where everybody has shown problematic behavior at one point or another, and everybody has done a murder,
right,
then she's fine. She blends in, she works, and she deserves her arc just like everybody else. Now, I really love the whole idea of Angel as a fixer, as the helper, right? But I think where they fall short, especially in this season, because we haven't gone to the other ones yet, is just that he has hundreds of years of life experience and stories to use in order to help people. Where are the life lesson discussions where he sits down with somebody and explains a memory from his past and how he learned from that? And like, that's what I really wanted, right? Like, we get the flashbacks, we get all of the bad accents and the bad wigs and all of that good stuff. But like, where are the life lessons and him talking and sharing that with other people?
I think you are right. I think it's supposed to be there. And when he's like, anytime he gives them like a little talk, it's probably supposed to be relating back to like, but yeah, so, I guess we'll talk about Wolfram and Hart. I know I've said this before, but Wolfram and Hart doesn't work for me until it does. And that is once they start being like, oh, let's bring back Lila. Oh, let's bring back Lindsay. Oh, that other like
it just feels like they're fucking around this whole season. Like, I don't understand goals here.
They were tiptoeing into evil in the first half of that series.
Dana, did you know about Wolfram and Hart, or was it kind of like?
No, I did. I did know about Wolfram and Hart. I'm still not quite sure what they are or why they're doing what they're doing. All I know is that young man Lindsay. That's his name, right? Lindsay.
Yes.
He has the most outrageous head of hair.
Oh yes,
I have ever seen in my life.
More screen time. I need that. Wolfram and Hart feels like a bunch of frat bros. Like, they are like, let's just, let's conjure the devil, let's just do it. Why not? It's fucking weird. And I know that they play a whole big deal over the course of the series. So I don't have any negative things to say about Wolfram and Hart as like an institution in this world. But it's just like, I
hired them for something.
I was just so confused with him.
You want them on your side.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. With Lindsay. I'm hiring Lindsay. Okay.
I'm hiring Lila.
I don't care about Lila as much. I know you've been raving on her the whole season.
Right, Ian, she gets really good.
Lila? Yeah. I think whenever they want to develop a character, they don't necessarily do it through romantic relationships or something like that, but they bring them into orbit of other characters. And once Lila and Lindsay are more tied together, I think she becomes more interesting, and there are more developments farther on down. But I didn't think Wolfram and Hart was. I agree. The frat bro thing is really weird, but they do have that energy. I think it's something about I don't know. Maybe it's the styles early in the
I don't know. I can see them throwing a kegger with demons.
Yeah. But I loved once they brought in Holland Manners in Blind Date. Sam Anderson is Sam Anderson.
I just know he was Bernard in Lost. That's what I know him from.
Yeah, well, Bernard in Lost is spectacular.
Yes.
I think he's a lot of fun, and Lindsay having daddy issues and then having an evil daddy, I think it works pretty well for me. I like it.
Yeah. And I do think it is at the very base a fun idea for a genre show.
Yeah, and the way it's Sam Anderson. The way he plays Holland, you're not sure if he's going to knit you a sweater or shoot you in the back of the head.
Yeah.
I think that's great. That's a lot of fun.
And you're like, I love it. I love that. I love that energy. I think a thing that I kept thinking is how weird it is. And Ian, I don't know if you'll agree with me that like the different, even though they're tied together, the different paths Lindsay and Lila go on, and how after 2, their paths, like it becomes completely separate, right?
Yeah. I mean, Lila does get a lot more development, but I wish that they had spent more time with a backstory on her the way they did with Lindsay.
Yeah.
But, again, we'll get there.
I will say, I know that Lindsay gets a backstory in season 2. I don't even fucking remember what it is, though. My thing is, it's immediately more fun once we have characters to, like, that's the face that we think of when we think of this. Like, I don't like, a lot of shows that have done, like, an evil company, but you don't ever, like, it's just kind of, like, ominous evil company.
Right. There are faces to Wolfram
right.
and Hart, yeah.
Like, I'm going to sound like a snob here, but in Thomas Pynchon's The Crying of Lot 49, the whole book is about an evil company that is controlling everything. And it ends with the main character stepping into a room to talk to them. And like, that's the end of the book. And I just remember reading that in grad school and being so fucking pissed. And everyone was like, no, that's the point. It's so meta. And I was like, no, but fucking show me that thing. I don't want it to like lead up to her walking in a door and that's it. Like, and I was the dummy in the class. Everyone else is like, oh, it's so like deep. And I'm like, is it? I don't know. Like, I'm a very like, show me the thing. I don't need to like.
Sometimes things can be deep and dumb.
Thank you, Dana.
I think they made like, now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if they were trying to balance. So when they're making the switch from Case of the Week to episodic Case of the Week to arcy stuff, maybe they were trying to sort of keep what was good about the Case of the Week stuff while having potential for an arc, and Wolfram and Hart as the big bad provides that potential.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking about why Buffy had a specific symbolic big bad every single season that was representative of a different stage in her development, and Angel doesn't. I mean, sorry,
is that not what happens?
That's the bit of a spoiler. I apologize. Angel,
he's got like mini bads, but yeah, like Wolfram and Hart is like the main big bad for the whole thing, right?
They tend to be a constant force throughout the series, and then you have the episodic little bits here and there. It's interesting.
That is really interesting.
I think season 3 is my favorite, and I think season 3 does that balance best, and then they drop a little bit more the Case of the Week because, and no spoilers, but there's that one case, Ian, that I'm going to say it without spoilers because I don't fucking remember. That's why, where there's like a family that they take up a case with, and then like an episode or 2 later, they end up having to go back to that house. And I think Cordelia gets captured and they find out the family had died. Yeah. Like, I really like shit like that, where it's like, that seemed like a throwaway case, but then it was not. And it was important, like an episode or 2 later. Like, I like shit like that, where it's like, okay, good. We did have to, it was important for us to pay attention to those characters in that Case of the Week. Because, and I've made this comparison a lot. Doctor Who did that a lot, where sometimes it would be like, yes, you have to care about this character. Yes, they will come back. And sometimes it'd be like, we want you to care about this character, but they're going to die at the end of the episode and we'll never mention them again. And I would always be like, well, no, I don't care. Like, I prefer like at least a little bit of a like callback, but I like serialized storytelling. So that's why the show does better for me in 2. Is there anything else we talk about before we talk about Angel himself?
What about Gunn? We don't get a lot of Gunn in this season,
true. We do get him. Dana, what do you think about Gunn?
I like him. I like that actor.
Yeah.
What's that
Yeah.
actor's name?
J. August Richards.
Yes, I like him. I get the broodiness for him. I like him. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him in the subsequent seasons. I just I can't say a lot because I don't know him that well, but I like him.
And I do think they didn't quite know what to do with him. I mean, I don't even know that they knew what to do with him. And the show, I don't know, Ian, what do you think? I feel like the show didn't quite ever know what to do with Gunn.
To me, because of issues of representation, I think he's a challenging character to talk about. I actually enjoy where his journey goes, but it also ends up accidentally reinforcing something that is problematic.
Yes.
And
no, we won't spoil it, but yes, I was thinking of that too, Ian.
Yeah, the thing of it is that Gunn is very tropey, very late 90s, early 2000s stereotypy.
Yeah.
And so are all of the characters when they start.
Right.
Cordy is, your arguably run-of-the-mill alpha high school character. Doyle is your kind of predictable dirtbag. But that's a problem when the trope is very tied to minority representation during the time period. And, I think I've heard an interview with J. August Richards, or I read someplace, and I apologize if this is internet nonsense, but I believe that he was cast because what was it, the WB?
Mm-hmm.
The WB he was a diversity hire for the show, and man, did they just come with a pretty standard for its time backstory and starting point for that character. And it's a bummer because J. August Richards is so solid.
He's very charming.
I think arguably Angel season 1 starts with a stronger, more competent cast of experienced actors than Buffy did in its first season. I mean, a lot of them were new and just kind of getting their feet wet and so forth. And I think you can feel that in the performances the first season. Angel's just the actors are all hitting dingers off the bat. And I think that J. August is so charismatic and so much fun that I think where that character starts is disappointing. But I do love Gunn's trajectory in the series.
Ian, I will say, I hope you heard that on Slayerfest, because he actually told that story when we interviewed him.
Oh, did he? Oh, yeah. It might have been from one of your tweets then that I heard that.
Because Anthony and I interviewed him after he came out. He came on Slayerfest, and he said that he was a diversity hire. And like he of course was nothing but kind talking about Gunn, but like it felt like that like he knew they kind of didn't know what to do at first.
Yeah, and I mean, when you see shots of the mutant enemies writer's room, and it's mostly men and it's all white, you kind of understand that the stories and tropes that they're going to start with are the ones that they've been consuming and sort of regurgitate from there. And that's, again, the importance of representation in storytelling in all facets of it. But, it was the time period, and it was kind of certainly Angel was not the only show afflicted with the problem.
Right. Yeah, also that. Yeah, Zach, what'd you think of him?
I really like Gunn, and I know that he's one of my favorite characters throughout the show. So I just, in my memory, remembered him being in this more, and I was surprised that he was only in the episodes of this season. So I'm excited to see him going forward, because I know I really like Gunn.
That's the mark of a good actor, though. If it's like if you thought that they were in more than they really were.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Like he in my if I think of the cast of Angel in my memory, he's part of that. He's like the initial cast for me, even though I knew he didn't start out, but I figured he came in like 5 episodes in, and I was really surprised that it was so late. I don't know, man. Like, so I'm really excited to see him, but I think the reason this show just so far hasn't worked for me, and maybe it could be my end game as well as that, just season 1 especially, just it's too broody, really. It feels like Cordelia is the only one actually trying to like lighten the mood sometimes, and everybody else is so broody. It's not even just the guys. It's like Kate, oh my gosh,
we forgot, yeah.
we don't need to go into her. Everybody is so broody. And you know what I loved about Buffy so much is that the characters, like, it doesn't take a whole lot of time for them to grow on you, you know? Like, I love the characters in Buffy so much. And Faith is a character that really belongs on Angel because of how broody she is, but she worked on Buffy because she was surrounded by all of the Buffy cast, right? And she could be the broody one. Everybody is broody in this fucking show.
That is one of the reasons why I think the swap watch of Angel is one of the worst ways to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Is because Buffy is a light, fluffy, joyful bit of candy a lot of times, and Angel is not.
Mm-hmm.
And
like,
I think
that nice metaphor about Buffy and Angel.
I think by comparison, man, I don't know. I'd have to agree.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I completely agree with you. When I was the first time I watched all of Angel, with the exception of certain parts of the run, including season 5, it was a bit of a chore, and that's because I couldn't help but make the comparison to all the things I love about Buffy, and that wasn't in here, as opposed to developing an affinity for what Angel does really well that's unique to the show from Buffy. But I mean, the thing of it is like Chernobyl is a dreary, dark, depressing, broody show, right? But we don't say, and yet Buffy is super. We don't make that comparison. But as a spin-off show, it kind of dooms Angel to what Buffy is not, or rather, what it is not doing that Buffy did a lot of times, and that Buffy did really well, and that we love the show for. And that is something that for me just sort of drained away as the first time I really enjoyed Angel the most was when I just watched only Angel, and I binged the show all the way through without swapping to Buffy. And then you sort of like, you don't have that. I mean, going from Buffy to Angel is like going from a milkshake to broccoli right afterwards. It's like they're both important, but it's just such a weird palate shift.
I will say though, like I didn't do a whole lot of shifting while I was watching this. I think it's just Buffy was so ingrained in me from such a young age that I will never be able to separate the two. I just will never be able to do that.
Well, and especially when you get Oz on the show. I mean, Seth Green is the little cameos. I think almost in this first season didn't serve the show very well, because you get that like, oh my God, there's Oz. I love Oz. Yeah. Hi, Oz. And then he goes away, and it's sort of Broody McBruderson and Team Darkness the next episode. And, you miss that joy as opposed to sort of digging for, maybe Angel doesn't offer that, but what does it offer,
So, Dana, real quick, I want to know what you think. I want to know what you think about Kate.
I do too.
I read today that there was an episode that was scrapped in Angel where Kate was going to be investigating, like going undercover, but then becomes like a sex worker, and then the network thought it was too dark or something. I'm like, oh my God, they just could not help but just like obliterate this character.
Right. Dana, that was actually going to be her first episode. Was that?
Oh, okay. It was me, her first episode. Yeah. They just wanted to like make her so serious and so dark. It just, and I was on a Kate episode, and I think I expressed myself on that because it just.
I remember you saying she's hot. That's what I remember.
She is. She's very hot. She's very hot. It's just they just really like this poor character would have just had like so much thrust upon her. So it's probably good that she didn't last a super long time.
Yeah, Ian, I don't even remember. I know she goes away after season 2, but it's like halfway through, right? Or is it at the end?
It's not. Well, Angel's always split seasons. Right. So the first arc ends about 6 episodes from the end of season 2. And you're thinking of Reprise and Epiphany.
Right. Yeah.
And then you get into the Pylea bit, which is like a mini series at the back end.
Yeah.
So, 2/3.
No, fair. Yeah.
I'd love to say she doesn't fit in the show, but she does. She's brooding just like everybody else in the show. Okay, Cordy deserved better than this season.
So I guess now we'll talk about Angel himself. I don't know that there's that much to say, but I do agree with what all of you were saying about like kind of in season 3, like if you jump in there, because that's when I jumped in. I didn't care about Angel as much till I got like the VHS tapes and was able to like go back, because I started in season 3 as well. And by that season, there's like just heartbreak between them, right? It's like,
season 2 was the only season I cared about Angel.
Yeah. And like, I do think they do a good job of making him, I still agree with all of your complaints, Zach, but I do think they at least make him more watchable this season. I don't know. What did you think about that, Zach?
Oh, he was very cute. I was twirling my hair a lot watching him, especially in those earlier episodes where he would just wear the sweater, right? I feel like when he puts the damn trench coat on, he gets even more brooding or more like, I don't freaking know. When his hair gets thicker, it's just too much for me.
His hair is so thick, so much thick hair on this show.
We get to season 5 hair, man. We get to season 5. They just, I don't know what's going on.
I love that hair.
He actually wasn't that bad. I have to say, he was one of the least annoying parts of this season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dana, you jumping in with this same thing as Zach. Like, how'd you feel about Angel here versus on Buffy?
I like Angel a lot more on Angel.
Yeah.
I do love these moments where Angel is like uncertain or awkward.
Yeah.
And I love watching him get to have those, because he's kind of an imposing physical figure with this, extremely serious backstory. And I love watching him just be kind of a doofus.
Oh, I love it. It's especially because, right, like he is for the first time really kind of day to day for 9 hours of the day surrounded by other people. Whereas like, in Buffy, she'd just meet him at his castle or his mansion every other day, right? Or like, I don't know. He's interacting with people more. And I think I liked that. There's just more to focus on with Angel here in season 1 than there was in Buffy.
Well, and you bring up a good point, Zach, because even by season 3, a lot of the times there's so many episodes in season 3 where like he pops in at the end to help with the fight, but that's kind of like,
he would pop in at the end. He would show up in an alleyway. Buffy would visit him at the mansion, but he wasn't like really interacting with people, because we're supposed to assume that Buffy is week to week, just like we're watching it. And their lives are moving week to week, that there's a lot of in-between time where we know he probably isn't spending much time with anybody else, but here
he's just sitting around hanging out at a crib.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe shirtless, which is nice. But
that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe no pants either,
I don't know, because also, and like, David Boreanaz, I also feel like learned as he went along with like...
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Right.
When you go back and watch Buffy season 1, Angel is a completely different character.
Yes.
As the cast comes along, I think Nicholas Brendon was the most final version of that character. I mean, no, that's not true. Anthony Stewart Head was Giles all the way.
Yeah.
Obviously with much more experience, but I think Nicholas Brendon feels like the Xander we know early on, and then everyone else kind of finds their voice as they go. But Angel is unidentifiable in that early the first couple of episodes, because he's smiling and wearing bright colors and making quips and jokes and all of that. And then he, by the time he becomes love interest character, which obviously was in the works from the beginning, but once it starts to click in, he's sort of Broody McBruderson, which is tough to develop as a character. I mean, and the other weird thing is that I always get the sense that David Boreanaz is playing against type, that whenever he gets a chance for comedy, Herb Saunders, Baltimore,
right.
You feel like that's more his comfort zone as an actor, because he's good at it. He's good at being playful and fun, and Angel is not playful or fun. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Again, to get back to the Chernobyl comparison, Chernobyl's incredible.
It's okay to just be hot.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
But I mean, from a storytelling perspective, just having him being sad man in his sad pants all the time, it's tough to have that feel like a journey and feel like it's in motion.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And like, actually, you talking about it, I almost feel like the Angel we get on Angel is almost like a weird combination of season 1 Buffy Angel and season 3 Buffy Angel.
Well, which you would hope would happen, that he would start to
like ease up.
Find hope is a huge influence in the ideas of the show. Hope and attachment and all of that, and the idea of hope sort of bringing him light and letting him enjoy his time with the people that he's with instead of constant suffering.
I have a question.
But it's just weird because he's a character that is supposed to, by way of his curse, can never be happy. And again, that is such a weird limiting thing for a character's journey. He's a tough character. He's tough. I think they do what they can, but I always like the ensemble around him much more than I care for Angel himself.
Yeah. Zach, what was your question?
So is there ever, just going into his acting a little bit, is there ever a moment throughout this series where I'm just going to be like, wow, what a performance from David Boreanaz? Because I feel like I will remember you should have been that. And I didn't feel like, wow, what a performance from David Boreanaz. I felt like, wow, what a performance from Sarah Michelle Gellar, But like throughout the rest of the series, when he's not acting opposite Sarah Michelle Gellar, am I going to have a moment like that?
Ooh.
That's not a good sign. This is not a good sign. This is his show. He needs a moment like that.
It's interesting. I was talking to a friend who was trying to get me into Person of Interest, which is bizarrely like Angel, down to the visions and all of that. And I'm really struggling with the show 3 seasons in. And one of the comparisons I made was, I can never picture that this show is going to make me cry. I can't picture this show the way Angel has many moments where I move to tears or feelings of joy as he steps out into the sunshine or whatever. And it's interesting to think about that from the performance or the standpoint of the actors or the characters as well. I can't think of anything.
Right, I really can't think of
well,
one.
Shit, my goodness.
Isn't great.
Okay, I thought of one. The problem is they're all spoilers. But one in comparison to the other characters that get many.
Wait,
but yeah,
what's the episode? What's the episode?
I'm not good with episode names. It's in season 3, and
What do you
a
mean you're not good
disappearance.
with episode names? You named like 16 episodes.
I know. This is just the one, Dana. This is the one. Okay.
I'm not good with episode names when I want them. When I want them, my brain's like, no, you're not getting that.
Angel episodes I don't know as well, but if it's in season 3, I'm assuming it's the pillow moment.
I'm going to say there's a disappearance in season 3, and there are some scenes with Angel that got me.
Yes,
that's about as clear as I'll be.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you're right. That is, and season 3 is my favorite, so I should remember this more. But yeah, it's season 3. I can't pinpoint, but yeah, he does some of his best acting in that like arc. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap this up. Overall grade for the first favorite episode of the season, Ian.
Other than 5x5, because isn't that going to be everyone's answer? If not, then 5x5.
What would be your second after that?
I'm rapidly bringing up the list of episodes so that I can scroll through because it's not. Oh, The Prodigal. I love, as a card carrying man with daddy issues. Whenever you poke me in the daddy issues, you get me, and that's Daddy Issues, the episode.
That's one of our most streamed episodes this season, Ian. And I feel like it's because of your very good spiel you give during that recording.
Well, happy to share the joy.
Dana?
What's the first episode Buffy comes back where Angel turns human for a bit?
I Will Remember You.
That one.
Okay. Yeah. Because you were on for that episode, right, Dana? Well,
I was.
Yes. Zach?
Okay, so 5x5 goes without saying, right? We'll say that one, obviously, but I'm gonna add 2. I Will Remember You. It's like just
Okay.
fantastic, right? You just like that Sarah Michelle Gellar goodness.
Yeah.
But also Dennis the Ghost, his first episode. I freaking love that episode. That's
Room
one
with
of
a
the
View.
episodes. That's like my comfort viewing for this
Mhm.
series.
Zach, look, I'm so proud that I knew what would be. I knew it was going to be 5x5 and Room with a View because those are my favorite episodes of this season.
It's almost like we co-host a horror podcast together. I don't know.
2 fucking podcasts together. Room with a View, I feel like I remember. The thing is, I didn't watch Angel consistently, but I do know I saw that episode like on TV. It might have been in reruns because I didn't watch Angel like that consistently. But like that Cordelia moment is like such a good moment at the end when she like fucking stands up and is like, just like tells off that ghost. And I always think of that as such a crowning moment for Cordelia, where she's like kind of depressed this season. And that's when she's like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to like crawl out of here and I'm going to like give you the finger. And it's almost like she's talking to like her depression almost like this season, because she, you know, we saw that she had this like really like roach infested apartment, which was like overdone with like 1,000 roaches on the floor. But like, I love that shit. I always love a moment where someone can like get beaten down and then like stand back up and be like, fuck you.
And I love the claiming of the word as power and not the pejorative.
Her saying like, I am a bitch. Yeah.
The thing I've heard is that at this point we sort of realized like the show's kind of stumbled ass backwards into their feminism, and then once we all started celebrating for them, they, some of the creators maybe fell in love with that legacy. But I love that moment of power of claiming that as fuck you. That's not a bad word. That's who I am, and you can just go away. That's a nice, profound little moment. I love it.
It's very much like Dawn in Conversations with Dead People, when she's,
gonna leave the house and then
when they've got all the wind and she's, screaming at the demon. She's like, yeah, it's good stuff. I like when they do the stand up and yell.
Yeah, I will. A complete aside, but actually that reminds me, my grandma was my Puerto Rican grandma, not my dad's mother. She would never curse. My Puerto Rican grandma had like a very filthy mouth and I loved her. And she was very much like not to rehash 2016, but when like it was Trump versus Hillary, and she like someone, I don't remember, on something she heard call Hillary a bitch. And she was like, oh, she's a bitch. Good. So am I. And like, that was what my grandma would always say about Hillary.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I don't know. Dana, what do you think about that?
We're talking about bitches.
Like Cordelia reclaiming the word bitch in like that moment.
Yeah, I mean, listen, she's the glue, baby. She's the glue of this series. And yeah, I think she's very self-aware.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm tired of words being used against women. So yeah, take it back. Take it back, Cordy.
All right, and I guess we'll grade the season. This might be a little rough. Ian, I'm going to have you go first because I think you'll have the best grade for the season.
I think grading on season 1 curves, I would give it a B.
Okay.
But within the pantheon of the whole show, maybe a B minus C plus. I will say there's a season that I grade worse than that.
I bet I know what it is.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Dana, what grade do you give this season?
Okay, I'm grading it on the I Love Buffy curve, and so I'm going to give it a B minus.
Oh, okay.
But I have faith that I'm going to enjoy season 2 more.
Okay,
you will.
Oh, you will. Zach?
For the simple fact that it was so dull and I was bored out of my skull watching this season. it's a C for me. But
all right.
I have the faith that I will enjoy season 2.
I agree with Zach. A flat C. I think before we covered it for the podcast, I probably would have given it like a D or an F. Covering it made me appreciate it more. I really like the little moments with Cordelia, and I had forgotten we got a lot of them this season. Like, I don't think I remembered getting as many as we do get. And And like that, like you said, Dana, Cordelia is the glue, and like her little moments this season, there rarely is a scene that doesn't work with Cordelia, right?
Right.
So like for me, yeah, she like those moments help bring up the season for me. But yeah, thank you all for doing this. This has been the most organized I have ever been for Slayerfest. I can't believe how many recordings we got done, and like we finished it in a year. Like that shit never happens on this. Welcome to Slayerfest 98. Everything takes forever.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Dana, you've actually you've been doing the podcast the longest here, right? I think this is the most organized I've been.
Yeah. God, how long have I been doing it since like 2017 or something?
Yeah, you were on for season 4. That's when you started coming on.
Wow.
Oh, look at that. Well, thank you all for listening. This has been our coverage of Angel season 1. We will be back in 2023 with coverage of Angel season 2. If you like the podcast, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can support us on Patreon, where you get access to all our bonus episodes, our My Nudie Judy sex talk videos, and our Discord server. And if you want to follow us on social, we are at SlayerFestX98 on all social media platforms. I am Ian X Carlos on all social media platforms. Dana, where can everyone find you and your writing?
You can find me on Instagram at Dana Piccoli. That's 2 C's, 1 L. I'm also still hanging on there on Twitter. Same thing, Dana Piccoli. And you can check out my writing currently on newsisout.com.
Cool. And Ian, where can everyone find you and your YouTube channel?
Well, first of all, I wanted to say I appreciate you having me on. What I do for YouTube is very individual. If I sound pontificating at parts of this podcast, I apologize. That's my wheelhouse where I kind of work from with the YouTube channel. So it's a lot of fun.
You the highlight of this podcast, Ian.
Oh, well, I don't think so. But it was a lot of fun getting to go around with everyone. I really appreciate it. I'm youtube.com/passion of the nerd.
And also, wait, Ian, I forgot to fucking congratulate you. You got married since the last time you were on.
Oh, I did. Yes. Yes. If there was, I couldn't think of a better way of preparing for my wedding week than writing about the body.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my gosh. Can we just add an hour onto this? I want to.
And Zachary, where can everyone find you and your 2 other podcasts?
I'm not even going to mention the one with you. No, just kidding. My Bloody Judy is a horror podcast I do with Ian Carlos Crawford here, host of Slayerfest 98. You can find it by searching My Bloody Judy. I also do another podcast with my husband called Coffee and Tequila. It's a morning show on Mondays, late show on Fridays, and you can also search that and you'll find us.
All right, everyone. Well, we will see you next time. Bye.